I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
I'm the longest. Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me. Aren't you?
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Just been revoked.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth! Because it is my name!
I see dead.
Today, Junior?
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? What?
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
The price is wrong, bitch.
All right. Welcome to Critics Not Cynics, the podcast that tries to prove that you can be a critic without being a cynic. And as you see, we're learning a couple new things here in OBS. And once I get the other part of this taken care of, and you'll see in here in the background, we are going to be having the trailer for Hawkeye playing. Make sure that's, yep, we want that. So yeah, we're talking about Hawkeye this week, and as always, I'm joined by Leslie. And Leslie,
Hello.
how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Like I said, we're learning new things here, so we'll see how well this does for everyone. Playing in the background. Obviously no audio, so too bad for that. But hey, go check out the show then on Disney Plus. So we're gonna do. Normally we'll tell you if we're doing spoilers or not, but I can't really tell if there's any spoilers in this.
It's spoilers if you haven't seen the episodes, obviously, because we're going to be talking about the plot.
Right.
And then I would say spoilers because of, we have some predictions, or at least I do.
Okay.
And if I turn out to be right, I don't want to ruin the show for you.
All right, so we'll save those predictions for the very end, so no one else gets kind of potentially spoiled. So yeah, Hawkeye now streaming, the first 2 episodes streaming on Disney Plus. Definitely go check it out to get the kind of the forefront business work out of the way. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube or on the podcasting services. All those links will be in the description, or at least where you can find us will be in the description. But all right, so Hawkeye. What's your just general, because we got a little bit of a structured review for this, but not too much, because TV shows are a lot harder when you're getting them episodically to kind of do our structured reviews like we've done for Ghostbusters and for Dune. What's your general opinion of Hawkeye as an Avenger, whether it's MCU version or comics?
Just of him as an Avenger, I would say I know more of him in MCU than I do of comics. I'm vaguely aware of comic, I've never read a Hawkeye comic specifically. I like him. I appreciate when we have human characters alongside of super powered people who are just really skilled at what they do. Because I would say it's somebody who's the top athlete, Olympic level, really super skilled person. And I feel like that humanizes, but particularly Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye in the MCU, I really like. I like him as an actor in pretty much everything I've seen him in. And I genuinely like that he's just kind of the more human, kind of like the tired dad of the group. Which, I mean, you know, opinions aside, we'll get to Age of Ultron about writing him a family. But I like just that sort of personality kind of angle that they go with him on the team.
Right.
So I personally like it, and I like his version of Hawkeye.
Yeah, I'm very much a fan as well. I like archers, particularly in comic books. I think I'm more of a Green Arrow fan than I am a Hawkeye fan, just particularly because I'm more of a DC fan when it comes to the actual comic books than I am a Marvel fan. But there is something very interesting about a character who doesn't have those powers and isn't like a Batman or an Iron Man, who's relying more on actual finesse and skill to contribute to the team. And it's always kind of bothered me, specifically in the MCU, that like everyone pretty much for the most part like I don't care about Hawkeye, he's lame, you know. It's like
Yeah.
you get one scene with him in Thor, and he doesn't really get to impress, and then you get to see him in Avengers, and like all of the trick shots, all of the really like being detailed, focused, and precise. It's really impressive to me, especially with, like you said, that human character aspect, because outside of Nat and Clint, like, okay, yeah, Tony's a normal guy, but he has $1 billion suit.
Yeah, he's like super wealthy,
So,
and he can do all kinds of stuff.
Right. So like, yeah, you got that humanizing thing, and they did something within the show that I think humanizes him even more. So yeah,
and I also think that
No, you're fine.
As humans, like one of our core like things to be fascinated by is Archer. I mean, even going back to like all the way to Robin Hood, you know, like there's that ingrained sort of a character to be fascinated with an archer. People are fascinated with Katniss Everdeen, and people take up archery after, you know, watching that. I saw a couple reviews that were like, I think I need to go out and get a bow and arrow now after watching, you know, this. I think we just have some sort of like innate fascination with that.
Right. Well, and you know, it's just, there is that aspect of like that precision and detail. I've tried, I mean, it was at a Ren fair, so like that, give that as much credence as possible, but I tried to do like their bow and arrow thing, and like you got to have that, you know, that taut string pulled back, and, you know, holding the shaft of the arrow and being able to aim it and everything. It's like that takes a lot of skill and a lot of detail,
a lot of practice.
A lot of practice. So let's kind of, with that out of the way, so you kind of understand where we're coming from when if we praise Hawkeye, the character, a little bit, or why we don't kind of just trash on him. That's kind of our thoughts on his character. So let's talk about episode 1, Never Meet Your Heroes. Starts off with, surprisingly enough, because I did not expect it.
Starts off exactly where it should.
Yes.
With introducing us to Kate.
Right. And Kate as a young child.
Yeah. Like 9, 10.
Something like that. Because we know she's like 22 by the present time events, and with the blip and with the time jumps, who knows exactly where she fits in, because I don't think she was blipped. At least that's not been.
She was blipped.
That's not, you know, really been discussed or anything like that. I would say even her mother probably wasn't blipped, but yeah, there's a lot of different things that they have to take into consideration for, because they're also setting this. I think I heard that this was set the latest of any of the MCU Phase 4 stuff, so like maybe later than No Way Home, later than Shang-Chi, later than the Eternals. So who knows? Well, I'll be really intrigued, because I know you haven't seen Eternals yet.
Yeah.
If this takes place after Eternals, will they talk or mention any events from Eternals? Probably not, but it'll be very interesting given what happens at the end of that film. But yeah, it starts with her as a young child at the Battle of New York, and does a very good job of explaining why she's obsessed with Hawkeye.
Oh yeah.
You know, and it lines up perfectly. It doesn't feel like added stuff thrown into it, because like one complaint I have a little bit about Endgame, and mild spoilers for Endgame, when Hulk goes to the Ancient One at the Sanctum Sanctorum in the Battle of New York, that just feels like, oh, because we want to do this thing, we're throwing this in right now, and it feels very forced as a set piece. Whereas this, excuse me, feels very, very organic, right? Like not manufactured. It feels very consistent.
I think the one shot of following her because she goes up to her bedroom to get the checkerboard, and we start to see the Chitauri outside her window, of following her through the house as she's like freaking out and everything that she's seeing, and doing it in, I think, almost entirely one shot until her mom comes, until she sees the Hawkeye,
right?
You know, and he's doing that turn and jump off the building. Why can't I think of the building? I'm like, why can't I think of the word skyscraper? That's what I was looking for when he jumps off. It's pretty much a one shot, and we're just following kind of from her point of view, or the camera like turns to like look at her reacting.
Right.
I think that's a really organic and natural way that we're like seeing what she's seeing, and as she's freaking out, and then of course the awe as she watches Hawkeye take on these Chitauri and jump off the building and stuff, which is interesting because it's funny to see her. She's like having that awe moment and like idolizing, and like this has now become inspiration in her hero. But when he goes through there, you know, in Avengers, and he lands, he's like in pain and he's down, and like we don't see him again for another how many ever minutes of the movie, because that was not a big moment for him. That was a crash and burn through that window just to lay there until we see him again.
and a slight reference to episode 2 when they talk about his disability.
Right.
So it's a very, very good point. But yeah, it feels very organic. I think it sets up the character of a young Kate very well, because like that's, you know, the one thing you don't get from the trailers is you don't see why she's either fascinated or why she's modeling herself after Hawkeye. But given with the death of her father at the Battle of New York, and, you know, just her and her mom, and she wants to be the protector, that's why she becomes the like Olympic medal athlete, learns all of the karate, self-defense techniques, archery, all that stuff.
And we also see, just to point out, that they're a wealthy family.
Yes.
And we also understand that it's the father's family that's wealthy.
Yes.
And the mother that married into it. So we get that established for us too. Like, she's the one coming from the socialite, wealthy, rich, like Manhattanite background.
Right. And there's also like I think a different aspect, because it's what's different between her and her mother. Like, the money doesn't define her. I never got that impression that the money is, you know, a necessity. It's just a means to an end to be able to take those classes, become proficient, because when we jump to the present, her mother has become the one who is obsessed with money, while also being like, well, you know, either you're rich or you're basically nothing. Like, only the rich have power, and only the people who have money can have that power, or are powerful, or whatever phrase she uses within the show, which I think was very interesting, because I don't think her mom is a villain, but in a way she is a villain to Kate, just not outright villainous.
Well, she says to Kate, the rich always think they're invincible or whatever, and the young always think they're invincible, and you've always been both young and rich, and you're not invincible, which I think is not so much villainous as it's kind of the truth. Like, rich people don't have a grounding to reality sometimes when you've really been in, like, your circle has shrunk, and your sense of reality is not the same as somebody who's living paycheck to paycheck. And then, of course, young people always think, well, I know everything. I'm 14. I know how to do anything and everything. So I think from that, like, motherly perspective of, like, you've always been young and you've always been rich and you don't really understand the world is kind of true.
Yeah. Yeah, but their relationship is definitely antagonistic. And to be fair, it was antagonistic even before the death of her father, because we get that kitchen scene and, you know, she makes her laugh. She goes, "Oh, see, I can make you smile." You know, so like there is friction between that mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah, they don't gel as well as she did with her father.
Right. And then we get to what, as I texted you as I was watching it, the worst part of the show, it might
the
be
best
your
part of the show.
I was gonna say, might be your favorite part of the show is Rogers the musical. I texted you and I said, Hawkeye, Clint's reaction is my current reaction right now.
Man.
It's just like, oh my god, this is awful. But like, it's intentionally awful.
Yes, but I just want them to film like that one song, like
they did.
in its full.
They did.
Yeah.
They released it.
Oh, did they? But I want the whole like. I don't know. I mean, I
think it's
so
out there.
Funny.
I think actually you can go find that on Disney Plus right now.
It's bad on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. That's why it's so good.
No,
yeah.
no, it's not good.
Yeah.
especially like when you have Ant-Man in there and Clint's like, he wasn't even there.
He wasn't there. Yeah. Yeah.
But you do get that. What I will give it a credit for is the PTSD moment when he sees Nat or Black Widow,
at Nat, yeah.
and all that's coming to mind is Vormir and the Soul Stone and the fact that they couldn't bring her back.
And here they are, and she's just dancing and twirling around, this actress, and then the little girl that's cosplaying Natasha smiles and waves at him, and like how horrible that must be.
Yeah. And this is also where it's revealed that he now has a hearing aid. And he did what I would have done, and he had turned it off. And his daughter, of course, calls him out on it.
Yeah, but I like that when he goes to like push it and click it back on, we kind of hear that tinnitus and the ringing in his ear. That I didn't need the second episode to explain for me to kind of just immediately fill in the gap of this is what's happened because I also have ringing in my ear. But I did see other reviewers who were like, "What's going on? I don't understand." And then at the second episode, when we'll get to, there's more explanation. But I immediately was like, "Oh, I know exactly what's taking place."
So, my mind filled in the gaps, but I think it was good that they explain it in episode 2 because we go from Endgame with Hawkeye, where he's fine, relatively fine, and then we get to here, and all of a sudden he's got this new thing about him that we hadn't
seen before.
Right.
I also know that it's a thing from I believe it's the Fraction comics, the Matt Fraction.
Oh, that makes sense.
He has, a hearing aid.
So
or 2 hearing aids.
Yeah, there's no complaint about him having the disability, but I do think that they needed at least to satisfy a wider audience who may not be familiar with the Fraction comic, who are just MCU followers, to be like, well, wait a minute.
This is why.
How did this happen? When did it happen? And that's why I like when they pointed out in episode 2, he's like, it's kind of hard to say. And then it's just image. Yeah. And you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then, kind of Kate gets herself in trouble at school by ringing a bell. Yeah. And it ends pretty poorly.
Honestly, though, the whole point, it just flashed up there in the trailer. The whole point of a bell tower like that is to ring the bell. Yeah. So the fact that simply the bell being rung collapses that whole thing is kind of like, I think maybe you were letting your building go unrepaired. That
quite
seems
possibly
super dangerous. Insurance. I don't know, but that seems like that's simply by just ringing it.
Yeah.
Don't know that I would want to be in Stan Tower. Did you see that? Or Stain Tower was the sign.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
But that's the impetus to get Kate back to New York for pretty much the events that go on. Obviously, Clint is in New York with the kids to kind of have a celebratory Christmas. Which of course all goes to hell, basically because of the events of this episode. Bad. Well, yet.
I mean, for his kids, it doesn't go that bad.
No.
They see Rogers the musical and leave halfway through.
It's pretty bad.
They have a nice dinner. They get to see the tree.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of a nice trip.
And until Kate gets involved.
Right.
And she's of course invited by her mom to this charity event auction, where of course down below there is a black market
triceratops skull.
Yes, and a triceratops skull. Black market auctioning Now, of course, I missed it a little bit briefly. We're jumping a little ahead, but we get introduced to the mom's, Vera Farmiga's new fiance, who's
Jack.
Jack Duquesne, played by Tony Dalton, who I'm not too familiar with in anything, but so we get that there's a kind of now a more adversarial relationship, like between Kate and her mom, and now there's this other figure kind of entering in to try to replace her father. But while at the charity benefit part, she runs into Armand Duquesne, who is Jack's uncle. And there is a brief scene where a threat, like I guess I must have turned away or gotten up for a second because I don't quite remember exactly if we heard the dialogue, but basically kind of threatening.
I had subtitles on. He said something about, "Don't you try that on me," and I don't remember what the other line was, but you couldn't really hear it, but I had the subtitles on so I could read it.
Yeah.
And they did put the full sentences on there, but something like, "Don't try that on me," and she said, "I don't know what you think you saw, but you don't know what's going on," and then it kind of moved along from there.
Right. And Kate believes that it was like a threat, and even her mom is not even sure if it was a threat. So, we've got some little mystery going on there, and that's what, propels Kate to go look or follow Armand into the black market dealing where Ronan's sword and attire is there. I did like I did like the little comedy scene with her and the waiter. Yeah. And then, I really like Haley Stanfield. I think she's fantastic. Ever since I saw her way back in True Grit, which I think it was her first film, I knew she was going to be a pretty good actress, and I've been impressed with everything I've seen her in. And she's got a lot of hit things going on. She's got Bumblebee that went really well. She's voicing a character on Arcane. She's here in Hawkeye. So, I mean, she's doing very well for herself. But I like the whole thing about when she's taking the champagne and he's like, "I thought I was the only one working." And, "Well, do you want to talk to Gary? Do you want to talk to Gary?" And then when Gary comes up and then she's like, "See, that's the problem, Gary. You don't even know my name." And she convinces them. She's so convincing and delivers the dialogue so well that even they're like, "Wait, what? Did I forget her name?" And then, he tries to chase her down. And then, of course, we got the tracksuit mafia breaking in, and that's what gets her into the Ronin attire. And that's what causes Clint's Christmas to go to complete hell, basically.
Yeah. I also like that I don't know if it's just costuming or what, but that it didn't fit her very well. Yeah. It wasn't like that she immediately put it on and it looks perfect on her. I liked that it looked like she's wearing her dad's jacket, and the hood doesn't fit her right.
Well, with Grills in episode 2, it's more form-fitting for him.
Right, it fits him better.
Than it was for her.
Yeah. I just think it would have been weird if she put it on and it immediately looks like, oh, and this is perfect and whatever. I like that it's obviously too big for her.
Maybe he had Stark Tech and it's just auto fitting.
And she didn't know how to use it.
That's right. But yeah, she runs afoul of the tracksuit mafia. She saves the dog, so she's automatically a hero just for that.
Yes.
And basically runs into Clint. That's kind of where the Clint sees, of course, the fact. Now, there was one problem I have with this, because, again, we don't know. We know it's the latest period in Phase 4. But the problem is, and I'm assuming it's because they just didn't care about necessarily the dialogue that the news reporter was saying, but the reporter says we haven't seen the Ronin in years. And if this is 6-7 months after Endgame, it's not years, right? So it's a minute thing to kind of have an issue with.
It's probably just a dialogue thing, a tiny.
Right. Yeah. It might have even been come up with your own dialogue for how you would want to talk, how you would report on this.
You're a newscaster.
Right. So, and of course the newscaster is most likely not going to be, a big MCU fan or anything like that. So it's a very minor thing, but that's where episode 1 ends, is basically Clint and Kate meeting. and her kind of fangirling right away, and we go to credits.
I love his perfect reaction. He's like, "Come on,"
because he's thinking, of course, he's like, "Okay, what villain is it now? Like, who is trying to come after me?
What villain, what scumbag has this?" And then he just immediately sees her, and of course, she immediately fangirls and is like innocent, and I'm sure that he's thinking like, she looks like she's only 2 years older than Lila, like.
Well, see, that was so when they were announcing the Hawkeye project all together, that's where I was a little disappointed, because like they go, okay, well, yeah, Kate Bishop established in the comics, obviously, Clint's family not so much. But they kind of had set it up an end game that, Lila was going to be kind of learning his skills and his technique while he was living off, on the farm. And then they're now kind of like not ignoring it, but pushing Lila to the side a little bit. Like I'm assuming she's going to have more of a role to play later on in the show, or even if she doesn't, I don't know if it's necessarily needed, but it does kind of feel like, well, okay, we're going to push her to the side and introduce Kate. It would have maybe been better if like Lila became Kate or something, you know what I mean? But that's, again, minor hang-ups here and there. It's nothing that really negatively impacts the show.
Right. It's one of those things, because I did hear complaints about that. So it's either you have Lila become Kate Bishop, quote unquote, and take the Hawkeye, and then everybody who loves the Kate Bishop character would be up in arms,
right.
Sort of a thing. But, like, again, I haven't read a ton of Hawkeye comics. I don't know how well established he has a family, if at all, as I felt like it was a thing Joss Whedon created for Age of Ultron.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was something that Whedon created.
The fact that, like, let's just go with that's something that Whedon created completely, and there's no really established fact for that in the comics. The fact that they're kind of slightly pushing them to the side to have Kate there, that's fine with me. Yeah. I don't want them to like completely ditch his family, because I actually like that. Like, I like when he calls his wife, like, I think in the second episode, yeah, and they're talking, and like how plugged in she is to everything he's doing. Like, she knows who these guys, when they're talking about it, they have a good, like, solid relationship. They know what's going on. So I don't feel like there's any like, oh, they're having marital problems, or anything like that. Like, some people were saying that because where is the mom in the...
No, it's Linda Cardinelli, and she's working on other projects.
Yeah, it's like she's not in the Christmas trip. They're obviously getting... And it's like, I like that he has a good, solid family relationship that's... Just because, like, when we look at the other characters, we don't see a lot of that.
Right.
It's not just for his own kind of relationship. It's just that, like, Tony and Pepper have this, like, weird... relationship, and now he's dead, so spoilers for Endgame. Cap finally gets to have his relationship. We don't really see any other Avenger with like a solid, steady relationship, and of course his was established there in Age of Ultron. So I would kind of maybe have liked it if it was sort of like, I'm passing this down to my child sort of a thing, but I can also see if it doesn't go that way, kind of like, well, Dad missed all these Christmases. Lila was like, "You're gonna be home, promise me." Like if it kind of goes that way of like, like, oh, my dad is Hawkeye. I'm gonna learn to shoot a bow and arrow with him. It's something that we can do together, sort of a thing, like a bonding thing, but not so much that I'm gonna be Hawkeye now, unless something like terrible happens, further down the MCU or something like that, like. I don't know. I'm fine with them doing I just don't want them to completely erase the family, is all I'm trying to say, I guess.
You don't want them to Thanos the family?
Right. I'm fine with them being pushed to the side a little bit and having established character come in to be the next Hawkeye.
Which is the kind of counter-argument I would make for the, whoever's giving the thing about them having the marital problems. Because you got to understand, he went 5 years thinking... he was never going to get his family back. So this is like, it's Christmas time. His kids are back. Like, I think if his wife had been the only one that was dusted, he could have moved on. Like, I feel like he would have understood, because he had his kids. Like, that's his legacy. Those are more important, I think, than even his wife, even his own life. Like, those are the things that are important to him. So I think, like, it was a thing of, like, hey, I'm going to go take the kids. and we're going to have this fantastic Christmas because we've missed 5 years of Christmases, and do go see Rogers and hate myself. And then, of course, that's why I think, like, he's so conflicted with I got to send you guys back home, and I got to go after the suit, and I got to go chase after this girl, and blah, 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 blah. And all he wants to do is spend Christmas with the family. Yeah. So that's pretty much episode 1. Oh, she does go into, somehow gets into Armand Duquesne's house.
And
he's dead, which is our kind of central mystery right now from episode 1.
Who done it?
Yes.
I have predictions.
Well, I think everyone knows who did it. I'm fairly certain.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But I'm pretty sure we're on the same track for who done it.
Maybe.
So now, we'll save the score for after we talk about episode 2. So episode 2 just picks up right off where episode 1 left. Now, I think this is why they released both episodes at the same time, because we were talking about this before recording. Episode 1 is very Kate-centric focused, because it's establishing her character, her personality, her traits, her relationships, how she interacts with the world. Episode 2 is focused on Clint. And now this thing that's kind of thrown a wrench into his own plans, things from his past that he's not proud of anymore. Also, kudos for them keeping the arm tattoo, because they could have easily just, not had it in there
got rid of it.
and come up with some excuse of like laser surgery or whatever, tattoo removal. But it did show up, so like at least they're keeping consistent with that. But yes, this episode very much focused on Clint and dealing with the ramifications of episode 1 and this new kind of wrench in the cog of the machine. And I think that where episode 3 will go will finally be kind of that partnership, where now it's focusing on Kate and Clint at the same time, because there are Kate moments in this episode too that kind of move the story a little bit forward. But because it's hard to not just like rush through a lot of the stuff. You have the tracksuit mafia, tracks are down, very, very obvious reasons on how they found her, and like that's where like Clint's like, yeah, no one knows where you live. All this stuff. She's like, of course not. And then,
I
immediately
just came here to drop off the dog.
immediately, like they're like Kate Bishop, and he's like, oh god, dang it!
She's like, yeah, my name's on the buzzer.
And again, that's what I really like about the show is their dynamic. Because you said this before we started recording. Jeremy Renner's deadpan Clint.
Yeah.
And just in general, like that's the type of actor he is. It's very deadpan, straight. He plays the straight man through like all of his
very
roles.
well.
And her kind of bubbly but like bumbling personality of like, I thought of everything.
Eager. She's very eager.
She thinks she's thought of everything, and then it's like, oh, I came here. Oh, and my name is on the buzzer. Oh, and oh this and oh that. And it's like, yeah, you're thinking about everything. Like you're criticizing Clint for being too paranoid, and you're like
low key.
Exactly.
You look at him because he's the tiny on the Rogers poster.
Yeah.
Like off to the side.
And so for her, it's like, oh, of course I thought of all these things, but I didn't think of that thing or that thing or that thing. And so we get the whole fire scene there. The tracksuit mafia, the cold, like, oh, that name's kind of on point. Or that's on the conversation, I think, with his wife. But
I do believe they are part of the comic.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
They are.
That's bro.
So that's like a whole kind of like little fun subplot. Then you deal with kind of stashing her for the night. Him trying to go back and find the suit is missing again. And finding the NYPD or NYFD LARPers.
NYC LARPers.
The LARPers thing for where he eventually finds the suit. And again, Kate kind of trying to come to terms with the fact that she is now with her favorite superhero. And also kind of like even Clint's reaction of like, I'm your favorite, like, out of all of them. Because he doesn't really know that he technically saved her life.
Yeah, I wonder if that's something they're going to reveal eventually between the two of them.
Possibly, but I mean, I don't know if I need it.
Yeah, I don't know if I need it. It might be a moment that they could have.
Right.
You know.
So then, of course, we get to the next day, and he tells her, here's my number. It's only for emergencies. If you overuse it, I am blocking or deleting it. And he goes off on his whole thing, and then she goes off to her whole thing, and
miss me yet?
Yeah, it's just immediately like texting him, going crazy because she's got, of course, her own suspicions about Jack, because she overheard some of the conversation at the black market auction, and she's again very confrontational, but I think he plays it off very well too, where he's like coming at it from the I bought a lot of step-parent books. And now I'm using that stepfather,
psychology stuff.
Yeah, against her. Like, oh, she's testing the boundaries of our relationship and so on and so forth. And he does a really good job with his performance as well.
Yeah.
But I also think it's funny when she's trying to text Clint about, she's got this theory. And then immediately, like, the phone rings and she's like, yeah, do you miss me yet or something like that? And it's like, this is the NYPD. Like, we need to talk to you about the house fire in your apartment. So, and then we get what I like and dislike the most about this episode is the Larper scene. Him going there. It's very well done, and it's very reminiscent of the movie Tag, which he was also in. I was telling you this before recording, where it feels very much like a scene from that film. And if you haven't seen Tag, go check it out. It's very fun. It's very enjoyable. Great cast as well. But at the same time, I think it ran a little too long for me. I know you kind of disagree, but what were your thoughts on the Larper scene?
I just thought it was funny. I did think it was very cheesy.
Yeah.
But I liked that they didn't, like, the show did not outright completely make fun of people LARPing.
Right.
I mean, I have never personally gone out and LARPed, but I do think it's, especially given that there's a lot of, like she said, law enforcement people and firefighters and stuff, and people are just going out to have fun. You don't need to automatically just, trash them and make fun. And they're just having fun. So I like that the show didn't go the route of just, like, completely making fun of them. I think it was a good play off Jeremy Renner's straight man. Like, he's not amused. He's just kind of like, I just want to talk to this guy.
Go through the motions.
Like, I just want to get that suit back. It's the whole, again, like I said, like the tired dad, like, I'm getting way too old for this crap.
Yeah.
Sort of angle and personality that he's going with it. So, I mean, I like that he did it. I think it was funny. Do the trial by combat thing. Hilarious, the guy in the back who's making the clank noises every time the foam swords or whatever hit each other. Like, drink the potion. Yeah. What's he thinking?
He didn't drink the potion.
They're so into it, and they're having such a great time. It's funny and it's cheesy. Although I can see, like, it might be too much cheese.
Yeah. It just ran on because it does that slow motion thing where he's going, like, through the crowd, and it's like it's funny, but then it continues for maybe about 5-10 seconds too long. But I will say, like,
grills.
There is some of my favorite dialogue in this particular interaction with him is, like, where he's like, 1, I can pretend kill you and I can take the suit, or 2, I can punch you real life in the face and you go down really hurt in real life, like, and I take the suit. And then he's like, no, just let me kill you, like, let me fake kill you and I'll give you the suit. And he agrees to it, and then he's like, and I thought Thanos. Like, I think someone who fought Thanos would have that type of reaction, to be like, oh my god, I gotta give into this thing, and I just gotta do it, and whatever. And I did like that little interaction because Grills is a very likable character. I kind of hope we might see him later on, because I liked the actor playing him. It felt like you said, because it feels very respectful to LARPers, while also having some fun at the same time. And you got the guy, because you made the point of where he says, this is my only chance to feel like a hero, and you're like, but you're a firefighter. Yeah,
you're a firefighter, man. So you're already a hero.
I take it as he means like superhero, like fighting Thanos level superhero, rather than like, oh yeah, I can save a person out of a burning building. but I'm not going to bring back like 5 billion lives with a snap of a finger. So it's something like that. And I think any one of us, would kind of have a similar reaction.
I love how the episode 2 just makes you completely run and gloss right over the ethical question of he just took that out of somebody's apartment. You just saw it, took it.
Well, like it's like he knew what it was, and so he's like, okay, no one else is going to miss this, and so on and so forth. We also do have that kind of explanation between Kate and Clint about the hearing aid, and when she's like, well, when did that happen? And he's like, hard to tell. And you see him fall through the window. Some stuff from Age of Ultron and Avengers and Endgame.
Endgame, and Endgame too. I did see, like I said, I watched a couple other reviewers, and one of them remembered and pointed out that I think pretty much every other character that was in the building when it exploded had a helmet of some sort,
and he was the only one
no ear protection whatsoever.
Outside of Thor, who's pretty much a god.
A god,
so,
so I'm like, that really makes sense. Yeah, he's been through a lot of, and who knows how many gunfights and stuff, and things that have gone off. That it's like it takes total sense that his hearing has been damaged over the years, and it's like one of the things that they can use to make realistic and ground the MCU a little bit of he is obviously a human and there's limits to what all the magic that we can do with our technology, of healing people and stuff that he did get that side thing blown out of him and put back together, but his hearing is damaged and we can give him hearing aids, instead of magically curing his hearing.
The funniest thing that gets pointed out in the first Deadpool movie is the superhero landing, how that would
how bad it is.
It would hurt, and then you go and you watch Black Widow, and she does that superhero landing 6 times and there's no, effect to her. So it is kind of nice to see some realism brought into the MCU with Clint's disability. And I think that they're doing it really well as well, that it's not just something, because even when earlier on and he's walking her to Bishop's security, she's like, oh, you're being the gentleman walking on the outside. He's like, no, it's so I can hear you. This is where my hearing aid is. And then that's what leads to that conversation. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's it brings that level of realism. And I think it's the quickest and best explanation for those who were why, because you and I could fill in, oh yeah, he's been through all this stuff. He's human. Blah, 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 blah. But I think it was still good that they kind of explained it in a funny way too. It's boom, 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 boom. Do you have questions?
Do you have questions now? Do you understand?
Right. So it was a really good thing. And then yes, he gets the suit back. He calls his wife. I love the conversation with her. Like you said, she's dialed in. She understands the level of panic. Also, he's talked to her and told her what he did. So, there's that level of respect in their relationship that they are a team in of themselves. And he's not proud of what he did, but she can understand why he did what he did. And so it's him trying to, reconcile that dark past and put it behind him for good. So I just really like that scene. I really like that conversation. And then this is kind of where we get to the funny part, but also again a little bit cheesy, because I knew it was going to happen immediately, especially when she gets on her phone and gets into the Bishop security. But Clint's like, okay, I'm going to do a Nat thing, catch and release, she did in the beginning of Avengers to give them all the information. So he gets himself caught, and even they're like, that was easy. I'm like, yeah, you're not asking why it was too easy to take out.
Guys, I could see through the bag.
Yeah, there's that too. And then, he's there at their hideout, whatever, and they're, acting like they've got him, and then he's like, oh, by the way.
Undid his hands,
And then come crashing through the ceiling to his rescue is Kate in her costume. And it's
I love that she looks around and she's like, I didn't know we're supposed to bring guns.
and you got Clint again, that dad figure going,
oh
my God.
Face. Yeah.
I had this. And you eager kid. Oh, you screwed it up, type of thing. And then the episode ends kind of on an interesting note of setting up a character who we have no setup for, right? Without looking Right. Well, I
think
mean, I've
it's
seen
Echo.
a name. It's who?
I think it's gonna be Echo.
I might be able to tell you here in a second. I mean, no, they haven't really given her. If that's the name, I mean, probably. It's not a character I'm super familiar with, but they only gave an actual name for the character.
Yeah, a name for the character. Yeah.
But that's a little bit of the problem I have with these first two episodes. Is kind of this. It's given me a little bit of Falcon and Winter Soldier vibes, but nothing that can't be resolved with episode 3. And it was a little bit like with Loki.
Like you said before, though, just to clarify your statement, is that it's giving you those vibes because it feels directionless right now.
Yes, like I feel like there's a lack of a purpose, or that there's a lack of a central plot that
where we're going.
Yeah, where we're going to end up in episode 6. But I think, again, as I said before we were recording, since it's only a 6-episode show, I couldn't expect them to release all first 3 episodes. If they were 9 or 10, I could see them going, okay, we can release the first 3, which will give you that initial setup, and then you'll be fine with week to week. But being a short show,
shorter one,
I completely understand it. So I have a feeling that this is one where it's like, I think when we get to episode 3, a lot of the concerns or fears I have will be alleviated. Because like I said, episode 1, Kate focused. Episode 2, Clint focused. Episode 3 is going to be Clint. Yeah, it's going to be Clint and Kate focused as they continue on this journey. I think we'll get an idea of who our central villain is, or who they're going to be really going up against outside of just the tracksuit mafia. But that's my major criticism. And that is by no means saying that I didn't enjoy the show or that I didn't enjoy the episodes. It's just again, this was the thing we said about Falcon and Winter Soldier when we got those first 2 episodes. Like, it's good, but I need to know where it's going to go.
What are we doing?
And Falcon and Winter Soldier really failed on that aspect. I don't think they're going to fail on that with Hawkeye.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to go. Yeah, I don't think this is going to fail. I feel like this is going to be good.
Right.
Fingers crossed.
Well, and again, like, the one thing that we can praise about Falcon and Winter Soldier were the performances with Sam and Bucky. And I think, like, even if by whatever means episode 3, 4, 5, 6 are awful, I think that central relationship between Kate and Clint is what's going to keep me through the season. I could forgive a lot of those things as long as that relationship stays at the level that it's at right now, and it continues to be an entertaining thing, and not like overdoing it or over exaggerating. I think that current level that they've struck right now is the best level, and I'm really, really excited for the next 4 weeks that we have of episodes. So I have by no means have any fear that it's going to go the route of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I would be lying if I didn't say that the alarm bells are slightly ringing. That it has the potential to rectify things, but it also has the potential to not rectify those things. But I think it's going to go the right route versus the negative route, because it's not focused like Falcon and Winter Soldier was focused on politics.
Right. This is about them.
Yes, it's about them, and it's about family. So I'm very, very interested to see where the show's going to go and where our characters are going to end up in episode 6. Outside of what you've got your little 2 points, and we'll do our scores before we go into your 2 theories, so that if anyone wants to drop out if they haven't watched the episodes yet, what would you score these 2 episodes?
Together, I'd probably go ahead and score them 4.5.
Both, or just as a total?
Well, I think as a total, because they very much do need to go together. I think it would have been, if they had only dropped 1, it wouldn't be quite enough.
Right.
Yeah, that's definitely why they dropped 2. To end on that cliffhanger. Yeah, that cliffhanger would have been like, but then it would be like, I have to wait till next week to understand what's going on, and I barely got any Clint.
Right.
So I think together as make that your opening pilot.
Okay.
Both of them. like 4.5. I like it. I like the establishment of the characters. I like Pizza Dog.
Yes.
He's so cute. I like his picture here that you have with his little hat on. I keep looking at it and smiling.
Yeah, because I think they even made that as a character poster for him as well with the hat. So
I appreciate that they did not do the comic thing where the dog gets hit by the car and then recovers. I like that he already has lost his eye and she saves him from being hit by the car. Like, you know, Disney, I like, don't hurt the dog. Don't kill the dog.
That's why, like, if she didn't help the dog, be like, nope, this show's done. 0 out of 0. 0 out of 5. It's the biggest failure.
I think, yeah, overall, I think we had good establishment of, like you said, a Kate episode, so we understand who she is. I think they did a really good job, even in that opening, and I like how that opening was showing you, like, you see her start as a yellow belt, and then you see her practicing, and then you see her with the black belt, and that cartoon style very much looks like the comic run that this is based on, or taking a lot of inspiration from. So I appreciate all of it. I liked all of it. I want the full Rogers the musical. Get what Lin? What's his name?
What?
Well, who did Hamilton? Lin.
Oh, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yes, I couldn't remember the rest of his name. Get him to do it as a comedy parody.
No.
Yes.
I'm not a Lin-Manuel. I'm not a fan of his, anyways. So that compounds how bad it is if that were to happen.
No, but completely overall, I have. Let's make it 3 points that I have of guesses.
Well, hang on.
Characters.
I gotta give.
I'm not going to go into it. I'm just saying I've got 3 now.
Okay, you got 3 now. Okay, I was gonna say I was like I still gotta give my score here. So.
I've got 3 now instead of 2, just to FYI.
Okay, so we've jarred something loose there with our conversation.
Just thinking about something.
So if I'm going to do the same, combine both episodes, I'm going to just go slightly lower and go with a 4. It's still a respectable score, of course, and pretty much the same things. I think the character establishment is what they did best with this episode, but I think setting up its central mystery or its central plot point of where this is going to go throughout the 6 episodes could have been a little bit more improved, or they're holding the cards a little too close to their chest right now, and it's one of those things where it's like maybe just a slight peek, just a little slighter peek, or even put in a mid-credit scene, or something where there's a little bit more that makes me go, I have to watch it next Wednesday, because right now it's like, if I don't watch it next Wednesday, I'll watch it by Friday or Saturday. I won't be like Loki, where Loki was like, okay, I may not like some things with episode 1 and 2, but I need to see where this is going to go, right? Like,
right.
Hawkeye right now at the point is, yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. I like the characters. I like the dialogue, but it's not done the thing to rope me in completely right now, where I'm obsessed with, I need to see the next episode. So with that kind of out of the way, because I'm really intrigued to hear what your 3 points are, that's going to do it for the non-spoiler section of the podcast. So if you want to drop out now, go ahead and drop out. Watch those 2 episodes currently streaming on Disney Plus. New episodes every Wednesday. Probably moving forward, just so we're not too focused on Marvel content, we'll be doing 2 episodes at a time, especially since there's 6 episodes. Kind of balances out fine. And we'll be better with it than we were with What If, because What If was kind of in that transition of learning YouTube and everything else and work and all that fun stuff. So again, if you aren't already subscribed to the podcast, subscribe to us on YouTube, share the video with your friends if you like our takes on stuff, and leave us some comments. And then again, all the other normal stuff. If you're listening audio only, we're on all those podcasting services, and our email is criticsnotcynics@gmail.com. And for the non-spoiler people, we'll talk to you next time. And all right, what are your spoilers? Potential spoilers.
Potential spoilers. Because these are predictions that I wanted on the record. If I'm right, I wanted to be able for everybody to come back to this episode and be like, I was right.
All right. So what are your theories?
I'm gonna start with the lowest stakes and go to the highest one.
Okay.
So lowest stakes. This might just a complete random theory. And this is stuff that, not like I'm the smartest person in the world. This is stuff I'm sure everybody else has thought of too, or other people have thought of. I think that the character was her name, Maya Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to give her a Black Widow backstory for the series. I just purely based on the room that she was in and the red lighting and stuff, and how like her look that we can see of her.
Well, and they're also Russian, so.
Yeah, I do also believe that she is a deaf character.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
she did do some hand signing, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I believe that for her backstory for this, whatever it may be in the comics, I don't know.
Right.
I think they're going to give her a Black Widow backstory, that she was one of them in the Red Room, like we saw one in Shang-Chi in the Fight Club.
Yeah.
Like I think she's going to have a Widow backstory for this that might somehow kind of do a Natasha type sort of a thing. Like I think that's where they're going to go with the backstory for this character. And they said something about Echo is going to have their own spin-off.
Okay. Oh yeah, that is
Disney.
Yes, that is one of the announced shows.
I'm wondering if this is going to be like introducing her character, and then we're going to kind of move on in a different way and potentially into the Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage sort of a maybe question
Who knows?
mark.
There's all this kind of weird speculation for Daredevil casting and stuff like that. Yeah.
Like I will tell you, I have personally not watched any of those because Feige was like, they're not going to be canon, so I didn't waste my time. I'm shrugging for anybody on the podcast who's the audio. Shrug. I don't know. Yeah, but that's what I think. She's going to have a Widow backstory for the establishment of her in the MCU.
Right.
That's number one.
Okay.
Super low stakes, number two, but it was enough to be number two and higher than that one for me. I think at the end of this, Clint is going to take Pizza Dog home, and that's going to be like, see, I made it for Christmas, and here's a dog. Merry Christmas, for the kids.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen. I don't think that Kate's going to keep the dog. I think Clint's going to take Pizza Dog, take him home to the farm, and that's going to be like, I made it at the last minute for Christmas, and also here's a puppy.
Well, grown-up puppers, but yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I think that's just, and the dog is so cute. They picked a really good one. He's so cute. That's like lower stakes. Probably could have been the lowest stakes, but more important. The dog gets a good home, and please somebody feed him something other than pizza. Oh my god.
Pizza dog.
Okay, the higher stakes thing. I think, coming from being a mystery novel fan, it is far too obvious and on the nose that Jack is the killer. His character in the comics may be a villain, and he might have villainous, sprinkled with him here. But for me, it's way too obvious. I think it's the mom. I think the mom killed the father at the beginning of the show. I think, when Kate's running around and she has no idea where her parents are, I think the mom killed the dad to start off with. When they're arguing about money and what we're going to do, I think she killed the dad. That's number one. And I think for whatever reason, Armand saw something. She runs the security company. She saw something she didn't want him to see. I think she is the one who killed him. And I think Kate and Jack each think the other one did it and are going to be investigating each other throughout this, only to find out, dun, 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 it's mom the whole time. That's my prediction.
Well, I don't know. Okay.
They don't have to keep characters exactly as they were in the comics. I know he's like
Swordmaster or something like that.
Yeah, and kind of slightly villainous or whatever, or maybe purely villainous. But I think Kate thinks he did it. I think he thinks she did it, and I think it's the mom the whole time.
So okay, I can give you that with Armand's murder. Because I was going to say it was probably Jack. But you make a very good theory or a thought, or argument, rather, on it being the mom. Now, as for the father, I thought he died in the Battle of New York, though. Because
I think that's what you're supposed to think.
Because I took it that because he even says, like, I'm a protector, I'm going to protect you. Maybe I need to just rewatch those episodes. But that's why I said, like, because you're giving now credence to my argument you kind of brushed away a little bit earlier when I said that the mother seemed villainous, like that there's that kind of antagonism.
I was not letting you on.
Antagonism between her and Kate, not necessarily being super villainous, but that there's.
I don't think she's completely antagonistic towards her daughter, though.
Yeah.
I think they have a relationship, but I don't feel like it's totally antagonistic. I'm trying to think of a better, like, a parents' relationship that is completely antagonistic, like Kara Thrace and her mom from the new Battlestar Galactica. Like, that is a totally antagonistic relationship. They basically hate each other and eventually figure their stuff out. I think this is like a strained, kind of difficult relationship. Not a perfect one, but I don't think that she has complete villainous attitudes towards her own daughter.
Well, I guess only time will tell. I mean, I don't know, but you do make a very good argument for her being the one who murdered Armand. Especially considering, like, there is that moment of a threat, not knowing exactly what that conversation was pertaining to. Maybe he found out that she embezzled money or did some shady dealings that
found out that she murdered the husband.
Well, we'll find out. So that is
Avatar. When Zuko's dad just sent the mom away.
Oh yeah.
Maybe she did that, sent him away, and everybody thinks he's dead.
We'll find out here in the coming weeks. Now,
that's my prediction.
If that's the way it goes, or if they start planting those seeds for that, I think that's going to be what. Again, that once they present that mystery, or once they start giving us a little bit more of that plot, I think that's what's going to ultimately make this show succeed and work and stand above some of the others. Maybe not at a Loki level, but still they're good up there with WandaVision and everything like that, still kind of leaving Falcon and Winter Soldier the odd man out, considering just how it bungled its story. That would be really good, because that's a lot of forethinking, plotting, planting tiny little seeds like you caught that could lead to that eventuality. So definitely something to kind of keep your eyes out open for. And if you listen to it here on the podcast rather than anywhere else, Leslie said it first. So let it be known. It was Leslie who predicted it all along. So, all right. I think that's going to do it for this episode. I don't have anything else to say. Do you?
No, I think we're good, and I got my predictions on record.
All right, everyone. We will talk to you next time.